Yeah, we're gonna cover 5 urgent Google and Bing ad changes to implement now. Don't worry, you don't have to like create like a list of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're naturally gonna go over these 5 in a way that makes sense that you want to start thinking about and adopting for yourself. Um, if you've never been to an exclusive webinar, you don't know who we are. We've been around since 1997. We were the first online retail agency. We are a performance agency, so people come to us to hit numbers and to make sure that we're using the best new tools to hit that performance. Sometimes it's emerging brands. Sometimes it's brands you only find out about when you're buying something in a particular niche. And a lot of them are, established household names as well. My name is Nick Rajma. I'm a Senior VP of Marketing Sciences. I've been here for 15 years. I helped develop our solutions early on when I joined, and I manage a strategy department now. I'm also the host of this webinar series and get the honor of presenting with my colleagues and partners every 2 weeks. And if anyone is interested in potentially talking to us, odds are 50-50 that you'll talk to myself or my colleague Liam. But I'm joined by some people who know their business on Google Ads and Bing Ads so much better than me. Happy to co-present with them.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Knowlton. I'm a director of paid media here at Exclusive. I've been here for just over 4 years now, and I lead the team on strategy with paid search, display, discovery, video, programmatic. This spans both Google and Microsoft. So yeah, it's been a great time learning the strategy and helping the team here. And occasionally I guest star on webinars. So if you guys did join earlier in the year, it's nice to see you again.
Only on the best webinars.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Logan Durant. I'm our VP of Paid Media Strategy here at Exclusive. I've been here for over 10 years now. I had the privilege of launching our Google Shopping service way back in 2013 and building a team around that. I led our paid media department for several years. Now I work on the strategy side with Nick, helping to evolve our holistic frameworks and particularly in the realm of paid media strategy. So happy to be here today. Very excited.
Melissa, can you take us away and kind of introduce us to the overall concepts of how Google builds their ecosystem?
Sure thing. Yeah. So for Google Ads and just the ecosystem and awareness in general, hopefully Google Ads is not new to anyone here, but for those who might want a refresher, Google Ads touches on multiple spaces. So we touch on the SERP or the search engine results page. We also touch on a lot of other placements that are included in the Google Display Network, such as Gmail, YouTube homepage, other placements like that. And then we also touch on YouTube. All these come together to help us drive ads, drive conversions for your businesses, and get people to know about your brand, and then again, make those sales. It's really important to understand how each of these different spaces work together to drive sales for you, especially in Q4, the biggest time of the year for this. Even this example here on the page, these are PLA ads or product listing ads, but we're going to talk about specifically today the new things coming to the ecosystem, because we can talk for hours and hours about best practices and things like that, but for holiday, it's important to always be ahead of the new stuff, and that's why we're here.
Awesome. So as we go through our presentation, we're going to talk about ways in which essentially Google allows you to either influence and build awareness, engage people, which we would consider, people who are interested in a particular category. We're also going to talk about how to improve conversions and how to adapt to more GA4. Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, what we wanted to do is kind of take a step back and think about how all of this works together. In the last 10 years or so, we have gone from managing about 6 different channels for clients, basically the channels that are meaningful to stay in front of their customers, to over 15 channels now. Google obviously being one of the biggest, especially for driving website traffic. But it's definitely a challenge now. The channels have decided to report on their attribution in slightly different ways. It's hard to compare one to one. But what they've done really well, all these different channels, Google, Bing, Meta, Amazon, TikTok, even SMS and email, is you get a lot of people that kind of pop around from one platform to the next to the next. So Google starts to have some of the similar audience targeting and awareness features, et cetera, as its counterparts, because these people are sharing ideas. It's almost like all these platforms are somehow connected. And where they seem to be most connected is they all have within them ways for you to target cold audience awareness. Um, they all have ways in which you can find people who are interested in your market and target them. That's consideration. There's ways to target past visitors who are engaged until they buy. That's conversion. There's ways to target past customers to buy again. That's loyalty. And then there's ways to ask your customers for likes and shares and reviews and influencer moments, and that's all advocacy. So what we've started to do now is help our clients plan strategies for these 5 different desired outcomes, and then use the best of each platform to roll out those strategies. And when we talk about the new things that are released on Google and on Bing today, we're going to put them back into this context. What kind of emboldens your awareness strategy or your consideration or your conversion? This whole concept of these 5 things working together and not just being a funnel that ends, but rather a virtuous cycle that each one supports each other is what we call the virtuous activity cycle. When we're trying to help clients figure out which ad types to use, what campaign types to use, we don't believe that you should just use everything. First thing we do is ask yourself, what exactly is important in my marketing? And over time, we've determined that there's essentially 2 different types of e-commerce businesses. For a long time, virtually all the e-commerce businesses outside of Amazon were what we call search-based journeys, where you would hope that someone search for something on Google and like a category that they're interested in, and they'd find you in Google shopping result or a text ad. They'd engage with you. So you took that moment of interest that was clearly laid out in a search, capture them, and remarket until they bought. That's a search-based journey. It doesn't work for every business. A lot of businesses, people don't even know what to search for. A common language is not materialized. And that's what we call a brand-based journey, where instead you have to go out and kind of fling yourself in front of potential buyers, cold awareness, targeting. And that's where the moments happen that you can introduce them to your brand. Now, understanding that roughly 30% of e-commerce businesses are brand-based and 70% are search-based, we like to start there. Everything that we talk about today is going to fit in these paradigms. But you should know your journey. I'm search-based, I'm brand-based. And you should also know generally where you are in your marketing objectives. If you're trying to achieve efficiency and you're search-based, then yes, make sure you show up in search and then convert those visitors. You want to go bigger, then do awareness, right? If you're brand-based where awareness matters the most, start off by getting a lot of awareness targeting and convert, close that traffic. If you want to go bigger than that, even though a search language is not technically materialized, try out building your consideration. Work on your past customers. Brand-based has a lot of customer lifetime value side. So you can focus on that as kind of the growth principle. But understanding kind of where you lay here is the first step in you creating a great Google Ads or Bing strategy. Logan, can you talk a little bit about, once we've defined these things for clients, how that immediately intersects into Google Ads?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, so when it comes to Google Ads, we have different standards for each part of the virtuous activity cycle based on whether you are search-based or brand-based, or whether you are just starting out in your advertising journey and you're growing, or you are leading the space. So here's a couple of examples that we wanted to show about how these standards differ across search-based and brand-based. So here's an example of a search-based with a standard distribution, which means you're in the market, you're a part of the market, you're growing, but you're not a market leader yet. So when it comes to awareness, we know you have to be really cautious with awareness. We know that campaigns like YouTube, display discovery within Google Ads can be highly unprofitable if pursued incorrectly. If you're a search-based journey, you have to be really specific to your audience targeting. So you need highly specific targets, people who are in very specific markets and who have even searched for really relevant keywords that relate to your products. So in a search-based journey, you're generally looking at a relatively low level of investment in awareness to start. And then as you start to grow and hopefully even start to lead the space, then that's when that bucket can get bigger. When it comes to consideration, here is that center of efficiency that Nick was talking about. In your search-based journey, you want a high level of visibility in the SERP for basically any keyword possible, especially the mid-tail and long-tail. And you want as much visibility as profitability will allow for the really short tail, kind of like trophy keywords in your space. This is where all the new customer acquisition really comes from in a search-based journey. Conversion, you want strong visibility for your brand name, as well as strong presence for any pre-purchase or marketing. But you also want to make sure that a platform like Google doesn't take too much ad spend for your brand name. We know they like to charge sometimes for certain clicks for your brand that are a little too high in terms of the CPC. So ensuring that you're getting that visibility, doing it at a cost per click that makes sense. And then the loyalty component, this is one where, again, the level of investment can it can vary based on your customer lifetime value, but in general, you want to start with a relatively low targeted investment. You want to target two cohorts of people, one being past buyers, where you're promoting the replenishment of a product if you have a consumable type product, or you're promoting like a cross-sell opportunity if you have someone who has bought product X, but now you'd like them to buy product Y. So this is what some standards of strategy and a relative investment level would look like for that search-based standard investment type of merchant. On the flip side of the coin, if you are brand-based, there's a different set of standards, and there are a different level of investment that you should pursue for each of these parts of what we call the virtuous activity cycle. So when it comes to awareness, this is an efficiency center. This is a place where you can acquire new customers on a brand-based journey. So you want a more healthy investment in awareness if you're brand-based versus if you're search-based. So again, we're looking for in-market audiences. We're looking for people who may have searched for relevant keywords. But if you're in a standard level of investment, meaning you're not the market leader, you're still probably looking for KPIs that are relatively ROAS focused. The awareness needs to be profitable. When it comes to consideration, this is the most challenging component of the virtuous activity cycle for brand-based. And you might fall into this if you find that your non-branded search on Google Ads, on Microsoft Ads is really hard nut to crack. And then the profitability is really hard to achieve. A lot of people who are brand-based companies and with a standard distribution here, they have a relatively small amount of non-branded search investment in Google Ads. So this is really like picking and choosing the most successful keywords, making sure you're constantly hitting those ROAS thresholds. When it comes to conversion, you want a relatively high level of investment. So you're likely going to be investing a lot in awareness, which are like display, video-based ads, getting people to know about your products and know about your brand. You then want to take advantage of that awareness and convert those people. So this is where a lot of remarketing efforts come into play. And you might even consider a target impression share strategy for your brand name to keep competitors at bay. And then loyalty. Go ahead, Nick. Yeah.
No. I'm gonna run a poll here as soon as you're done.
I love it. Last thing, when it comes to loyalty, again, this can be a varied level of ad spend, depending on the type of products you have, how often people are rebuying. But we have those same types of cohorts where you're either promoting the replenishment of consumable products or the cross-sell of adjacent products.
Awesome. So since everything that we talk about in terms of introducing new campaign types and innovations will fall somewhere in your, in the different levels of importance to your business. Kind of understanding this, it'll basically help you prioritize what you should focus on. So let's just have at it. What do you think your journey type is? So if it's search based, again, everyone knows what to call your widgets. They'll search for them. You got to show up in the convert them. National emergency, folks. It's not real. Um, for brand base, did everyone's go off just now? I'm curious if you guys can hit the questions box. Did everyone just get that at the exact same time, or do Californians get 2 extra minutes? Because it was
I got
like,
mine.
okay. That was, I shook. Okay, everyone got it. I shook a bit. All right, let's end this poll. So, why is it always turn out the exact same way? It's phenomenal. Like we said, 30% is going to be brand based, 70% is going to be search based. It just always happens this way, unless you're on a Klaviyo webinar with us, and then it switches. It's really odd when you're talking about like high customer lifetime value investments that are top of mind, like email. The makeup's exactly the opposite. But when we're talking Google, it's always 70-30. It's reassuring that it stays the same here. But nice to see so many of your research base, and you have to focus on efficiency, maybe just for the time being. Get that efficiency up so you can switch to alpha. But hopefully that's helpful to see where all your peers are at.
All right. Yeah, that's it's amazing. It falls the same way every time. I love it. And then the last thing, when we talk about setting standards, we can't forget Microsoft Ads. It's a smaller search engine, obviously, than Google, but an important piece of your overall search marketing strategy. There are some inherent differences, I think, with Microsoft. Sometimes the demographics skew a little bit older. We do find it's a better engine for B2B type of merchants. So when we look at the investment level of Microsoft Ads, for our clients, our fastest growing clients at the agency, it's usually anywhere from 15% to 35% of your Google Ads investment. And if you do have that like slightly older demographic and maybe that more B2B focus, it tends to skew probably more towards that 35%. But it is, even though it has a lot of the same functionality as Google Ads, it is a different search engine with different performance. So we have to be almost more precise in a lot of ways with Microsoft. So we have different standards when it comes to the keyword strategy and product strategy. We basically want to take the best performing parts of the Google Ads account, knowing that when they're transposed to Microsoft Ads, they will have slightly lower performance in most cases and slightly higher CPCs. There are, new features being released in Microsoft all the time. Performance Max, they now have a new beta that we're testing for all of our merchants, and but it has to be treated differently. We're finding different areas of success in PMax, which I know Melissa can attest to. So it's a different strategy, but an important one. And I should mention that in 2023, we were selected as Microsoft Ads Rising Star Agency of the Year in both the US and worldwide, which means we put a special focus on developing a very specific Microsoft advertising strategy. Great. Okay, now one more slide before we get to the main course here. Melissa, I know everyone's dying to see what the 5 pieces are, but I just wanted to introduce a few statistics that can also help ground your advertising spend and how you go about your strategy going into Q4. So the first thing is starting at the top of the funnel. 74% of shoppers start their journey without knowing exactly what they're going to buy. So this is saying, hey, you can't just invest in conversion. You have to invest in consideration and in awareness. Expand non-branded search. Generic query demand has increased 5% this year, while branded queries have decreased 2%. So being present in consideration in that non-branded search is becoming more important. Don't skimp on Google Ads. 89% of holiday shoppers are actively using search engines like Google to drive their holiday decisions. So table stake being Google Ads and Microsoft Ads. zero in on intent. 2 in 3 shoppers make decisions about what they're going to buy before they get to the store. So if you do have, a journey where people are, looking online or looking in store, if you have brick and mortar, you have to kind of create that that demand and zero in on those people before they get to the store. And it's a longer season. I think we say this every year, but it really is true. In 2022, 50% of holiday shoppers said they started shopping early, spread out their holiday spending. It's, I think since COVID, it's really been a much longer holiday season, and we predict the same for this year. Right. So now I can turn it over to Melissa to go over the 5 urgent things, and then we have a framework to introduce first here, Melissa.
Awesome. Thanks, Logan. Yeah, so the first thing I want to talk through with, what's new, what's coming out is first, what can we use that's going to help influence your customers? So depending on your goal, it's going to depend on which video campaigns you want to use. So if your goal is impressions, we really recommend a combination of video reach and Microsoft's new CTV beta, which we'll get into. If you have a focus on views, which is also, I should say, impressions is the awareness and the VAC phase, and then views would fall into that consideration phase. If you're looking to grow engagement with your ads, grow views, where you think if people see this ad and really resonate with it, that's going to lead to sales. We'd recommend using Google's new video view campaigns. And then finally, if you're looking for just sales, bottom of funnel, we need those conversions, then we tap into those video action campaigns. So first thing is video reach campaigns. So video reach campaigns goal is to drive impressions at the most efficient CPM possible. So if you're going after awareness audiences, or if your strategy is to grow awareness for remarketing audiences too, you can utilize video reach campaigns. They are the best, absolutely, at driving impressions because we have direct control over CPMs. Whereas other campaign types, we're bidding towards or letting Google bid for us, and that can drive CPMs up. So if your goal is as many eyeballs on my ad as possible, this is the ad type for you. And also you can drive your message home with frequency targets. It's something that we've been using more for our clients, and having that frequency target happen does help drive the message home further. So I would recommend that also going forward. Whereas we have a new video type that just came out recently called video view campaigns. And so instead of driving impressions, this campaign type focuses on driving views. Views can be a little technical with Google, but to try to simplify it, it is just engagement. So an impression is that split second they get the ad, that counts as an impression. A view is if they engage with the ad of some kind. So that means clicking the ad, watching all of the ad if it's a long, or if it's a short ad. If it's a longer ad, aka over 30 seconds, it means watching to that 30-second mark. It means people are engaging. And in theory, the longer they watch the ad, the more it resonates with them. On average, when Google was first testing out this new product, advertisers saw 40% more views with AI-powered video view campaigns versus cost per view. Cost per view is the old ad type. It is just bidding towards a view or a cost per view, how much you're willing to pay for each view. That is old school. We're now leaning into AI-powered campaigns like video view campaigns. So if you're using CPV, I'd also recommend switching them over to video views for the holiday season. This is a really exciting campaign type because sometimes you do with the impression campaigns, you're like, my impressions are great, my view rate is not. So how do I get that up? Trying this campaign type out. And the final one, the one that I have a special attachment to, video action campaigns. These honestly are such a great campaign type to use. Video actions goal is to get conversions. So if you're looking for impressions or views, this one will get you them, but far less. With video action, we are telling Google be as aggressive as possible on users that are likely to convert. This does mean higher CPVs and higher CPMs, but it also means more conversions and more revenue, which is why it works really well for low funnel remarketing audiences in the conversion phase or loyalty phase, where we're trying to get repeat purchasers, especially if you're remarketing to people who bought last holiday season. It is expensive, but the trade-off is you are driving revenue, and you're going to see that in your account. Rarely does this campaign type fail me. So it's really exciting. You can also test this out on in-markets, because in-markets do have that high intent value where this campaign type should also be effective with them. But in tandem, all three of these campaigns work really well together. And so that's why I recommend using all three to drive holiday success, especially when you think of the holiday season. Like Logan said, it is long now. We used to have it's just Black Friday, and then Black Friday became, 5 p.m. on Thanksgiving, and then it just became the entire week is Black Friday, and now it's like the whole month is Black Friday. So that means driving performance early is really important. So using video reach in October and video view in October is going to help you build those remarketing audiences, and then really putting ad spend towards video action come November is going to help you drive those conversions and achieve your business goals. Some best practices I recommend, just having done this for quite some time now, always start with your best value prop first, when especially if it's like a Black Friday promotion. Common mistake I see is they wait to say the promotion at the end of the video, but if any of you have ever watched YouTube, our attention span is gone after 5 seconds. You're waiting for that skip button right away. Don't tease your promotion, put it front and center. Make sure within 5 seconds they know 30% off site wide, or whatever it is, free shipping or whatever it takes. You also want to keep an eye on view rate. So view rate, if it starts dropping month over month, week over week, anything like that, that tells you people are engaging less with your ad and it's time to do a refresh. Creative is always the biggest barrier to entry with YouTube, but even just like switching around the frames, like say you start with a video of, you know, someone walking on a beach and then it's they're at a cabin, you switch those two, it feels like new creative for people. And then of course, like we talked about earlier, use relevant audiences, especially in market and custom, because those are both going to tap into those high intent purchasers. And we don't want wasted spend on YouTube. YouTube is a great platform, but it is easy to send the message too wide. You want to narrow in on who makes the most sense for us. And then just some examples of audiences working well. So for Airbnb, they used in-market audiences and they saw a lift in 522% for brand interest. So that's people actually searching for Airbnb. Again, in-markets are great. These are people Google has categorized of having intent for this industry or this product category. Highly, highly recommend using. And then for custom audiences, this one was Dota. They're a job placement company. And when they started using custom audiences, they saw CPAs reduced while conversions increased. We really recommend custom audiences, especially for just building, like if you've been running search for years now, but you've never done YouTube, take that search term data of what's converted for you, throw that into a custom audience, and then let Google go crazy because they'll know these are the people that are likely to convert, and we have that historical data to prove it. Awesome. That's Google. If we flip over to the other side of things, we have Microsoft Ads, which shouldn't be discredited. YouTube is a great platform, but there's more out there than just YouTube. And today we're going to talk about CTV. So Exclusive has a partnership with Microsoft. Like mentioned, we won Rising Star of the Year, both globally and nationally. And through that partnership, we have access to Microsoft CTV beta. Oh no. Go back a little bit. Having too much fun with the slides. So with the access to the beta, we have, with our partnership with Google, we have access to a Microsoft CTV beta. If you have not run CTV before, this is something that we also really highly recommend testing in Q4, especially in October, to build those awareness audiences. If you were to go directly to HBO Max or Hulu or any of the other ones listed on here, that is the placements list. You're going to get Hulu placements only. If you go with Microsoft, you get access to all these placements, which is why we recommend clients, especially if they're starting out their CTV journey, they start on Microsoft because you get a budget once. So we can monitor how your HBO Max is doing, how Roku is doing, how Hulu is doing, all at once instead of hoping we picked the right one right away. The other benefit is that, you know, CTV placements has over 405 billion monthly impressions, which is astronomically high, but means the reach is really strong. You're going to get good visibility. And we get to leverage Microsoft's audience data, which means we get to target different users across all these placements using like remarketing lists, using similar lists, things that we know have worked for us in the past on Microsoft's side. And just some more whys on it. Video is quickly becoming the preferred medium to consume content. I mean, with the transformation we've seen of YouTube and TikTok and Reels, people want to see content in the form of videos. In 2024, it's expected to hit, or users are expected to spend 3.5 hours per day watching YouTube, or not YouTube, I wish, video content as a whole. And Microsoft CTV ads are uniquely positioned to help your brand stay ahead of this and also gain awareness. Some value props here that we really recommend, again, is the reach of it, as well as being able to use your own data to build those audiences. A bonus is also, it's a familiar platform. You know, we're not asking clients or other customers to build out a new advertising platform. Like they don't have to build a Hulu account or HBO Max. You can just do it in Microsoft. It's easy for us to pick up. And then there's lots of control flexibility we're using within the Microsoft Ads platform. It's very convenient. And it's
Awesome.
full
And
time.
yeah, so we do have some exclusive access to this beta. Most agencies just they're not linked up with Bing in the same way. We really want to kind of carry the torch here and be the first adopters as much as possible. While there's so many eyeballs, so much demand, we want to be the little bit of supply that goes in there and gets the best cost for our clients and just wins really big early on. So if you are an existing client and you're willing to test out 10,000 per month in Microsoft CTV, let us know. We'll reach out. We'll hook you up like that. If you'd consider switching to exclusive, and you would put 10,000 towards this, especially if you already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on traditional TV, this would be just an easy way for you to take your assets and move them into something that could potentially be more controllable, more audience targeted, get in front of people that are not really seeing many other ads at all. And then of course, if CTV is not right for you yet, or that budget's a little too much to just test, but you're interested in us, just let us know. We'd love to reach out. So I'm going to close this in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Can you bring us home with a few extra changes, Melissa?
Sounds good. So last step for us to talk about is how to engage, or not last step, we have a few more things. One step is engaging. And so while Microsoft is rolling out that new CTV beta, Google is rolling out what's called demand gen. It's a really exciting campaign type. If you guys know about discovery campaigns, this is what discovery is going to become. So discovery is just carousel ads or single card images that show on Gmail, the Google Discover feed, and the YouTube homepage. Now demand gen takes those placements, takes those ads, and combines them with video to create demand gen. The biggest value prop of demand gen is that it is going to create demand. That is the goal, hence demand generation. Whereas before, other campaign types are just capturing demand. And that's a lot of what we do, like search campaigns are capturing demand. What's really exciting about this is it's an AI-backed campaign type. It's first of its kind for Google. We're very excited to see how it's going to roll out. It's been in beta for quite some time, but it's really exciting that it just launched in October to all accounts. If you're not seeing it in your account yet, it should come out any day now. And so it's going to allow you to, in theory, really capitalize on these audiences, capture existing demand, and then also create demand by putting your ads in the placements that matter the most, like shorts, where it's high engagement, Gmail, also high engagement, things like that. We're actively testing it for clients, and so far it's pretty promising. So very excited for the next steps there. And then in terms of adapting, so there's also been some big changes going on this year and last year in terms of the measurement space. The first one being GA4 conversions. If you, well, hopefully everyone switched to GA4 because we didn't have a choice at this point, but hopefully your GA4 is set up correctly so that you can leverage and measure consumer data correctly across different phases of the VAC. For Google, they recommend having a plus or minus 15% between your UA conversions and your GA4 conversions. If you are seeing a greater difference than 15% either direction, it's likely that something is not set up correctly. Our exclusive team is very active in diagnosing problems and fixing them. We've even shortened our percent windows to be plus or minus 10% to ensure there is as much accuracy as possible. It is important to know between UA and GA4, there will be differences. They use different attribution models. It's not going to be perfect, but they should be relatively close. And then using GA4 conversions, we can then input those into your Google Ads account to leverage that data, make sure we're targeting the right customers, the right conversion actions. In addition, we can target audiences. So GA4 has some really customizable audiences that allows us to take users who are interacting for all steps of the journey and throw it back into Google Ads to drive both conversions and revenue. And the last must-have is also data related. It's enhanced conversions. So enhanced conversions has been around for quite some time now, over a year, definitely. But we are putting a hard recommendation. You need to have this in by the end of October, if not yesterday. Enhanced conversions is Google's best practice. We are going to enter a world where cookies are not a thing anymore, and your first-party data is the only way you're going to be able to accurately measure the purchase journey for your customers. Enabling it is critical ahead of holiday season. On average, about 5% of search campaigns saw an increase in conversions. The big one for me, though, is YouTube conversions increased about 17%. And we're really pushing YouTube here because it's great for that awareness bucket. But like Logan mentioned, awareness has to be profitable at the end of the day. Like, we're trying to grow your customer base, but it's not always that way. Part of that is attribution, and enhanced conversion helps us see better into what YouTube is actually driving. So if you are running YouTube campaigns of any kind, you should have enhanced conversion set up. And even if you're not, you should still have it set up, because first party data is the way of the future. And I like to say this with clients sometimes, but Google doesn't wait for you to catch up. You have to be on top of it yourself. Google does not wait for you. We have to keep going forward. Enhanced conversions is one of those things, and you should definitely have it before the holidays. Absolutely.
Such a vital message. Thank you, Melissa. I want to get through kind of some high level thoughts fairly quickly, because we've had a lot of questions here, and I love our team to be able to answer them. So just thinking on, the big question of, why should I do awareness? It's hard to measure, and I don't know if it's making a difference. The return on ad spend is not high enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are ways to crack this and align awareness with your goals in a way that kind of makes it less important that awareness ads can't always represent themselves very well in their own attribution. One of the ways that you get to the so what of awareness, and even some remarketing in general, is we'll start here is media mix modeling. Media mix modeling is one solution that kind of gets down to, I invested in these few different things. They're all giving me their idea of what revenue they generated, but what really drove revenue. So if I could put into a machine week by week what I spend money on versus my revenue, can that machine spit back to me some insights? Yes, that's called a media mix modeling tool. In a media mix modeling tool, once it has been fed this data, it can start to be fairly predictive. It can say, well, this is the revenue that we studied for the last 12 months, but based on trajectory and improvements, we're actually going to see this revenue in the next 12 months. Your advertising cost of sale has struggled, it has improved, and as a result, in the next 12 months, this will be your new total advertising cost of sale, or marketing efficiency ratio, whatever you want to call it. It is the, out of every dollar you make, how many pennies did you put towards marketing to generate that dollar? Once this data is in here, it starts to compute real multiple regression generated results around, when you spent here, you made money. When you spent here, you made more money. And well, in our tool, our media mix model tool that runs for all of our clients, we created this visual, which is just so simple. It's, hey, you spent on social, it was positive. Your paid search, your text ads were 7.35 times more impactful on generating revenue, and your product ads were 12.4 times more than social. So you say, well, okay, well, what would happen if I then increase my ad spend on product ads by 200%, paid search by 25, and let's just stick with social. All of a sudden you get a new forecast for the next 12 months. Here's your new revenue. Here's your new ad spend. Here's your new marketing efficiency ratio. It's a great tool. It does take playing around with based on your goals. But goal setting itself is incredibly important. Seasonality is going to be a big part of media mix modeling. And if you do have a Q4 bump, bringing that into the data so that it can normalize the seasonal coefficient data back to the channels, that's part of what media mix modeling does. It is meant to temper the information so that it takes into account seasonality. But your all-in investment in marketing doesn't all have to be about planning by channel. It can be planning how much money I want to put into my marketing versus how much I make. Well, that's a different way of looking at your data. And it puts awareness into perspective very often. And I spent a lot on awareness, but overall, the percentage of marketing dollars to revenue didn't change all that much. My awareness campaigns didn't tell me they made a lot of money, but somehow I still made a lot of money. Awareness campaigns are notorious for underrepresenting themselves. Shifting to something that is a better dynamic, where your awareness that might lead to email marketing campaigns that close business and this disconnected chain and all these other things that happen, all these events that go from all in marketing to all in revenue. We advise that people should look at what that number looks like. All my marketing costs divided by all revenue. Now, this is not the end all be all. In fact, it's very myopic. It's very short term. This is how you look at your cash in, cash out on a monthly basis. It is not everything. When you look at this short-term goal of marketing efficiency ratio, it should be in balance with 3 other long-term goals. I want to increase my customer lifetime value. Based on my customer lifetime value, multiplied by my margin, I want to know what my break-even cost per acquisition is. My break-even cost per acquisition is $100, and I'm acquiring people at $20. I'm not living up to the potential of my business. I could be much more aggressive. I'm actually staying really passive when I've already earned the right to be more aggressive. And then tracking actual net new customers as opposed to just living off of your loyal customers. Now, you can't always balance, you can't always invest in short term, you can't always invest in long term. In fact, you need to make a decision probably every 30 to 90 days on where you will focus. We try to encourage clients to have somewhat well balanced. Try to achieve a little bit of an improvement in your MER, bring it down a tiny bit. Try to get a little bit of customer lifetime value, a little more aggressive CPA, a little better on net new. That's well balanced. But if your business is really profitable and you're not seeing year-over-year gains in revenue, focus on long-term more. If the bank is calling you and you're not picking up, and you're struggling with your finances, get your short-term cash in, cash out game as strong as possible. Forgo some of the long-term for a little while. Now, you could be anywhere on this spectrum, but because this is the business equivalent of being human, your business does have its own reality. It suffers and it yearns for. And you need to know what it wants. So what resonates with you? Do you want something that's well balanced? You want to keep things short term? Maybe struggling with finances a little bit. You got to tighten up that. Or have you been waiting for someone to come around the corner and say, you've been profitable for a long time. You should be growing 5 times faster. So despite the weird spacing that is showing up in this poll, we're going to let this run for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want to share this with everyone so you guys can feel comforted that you're not the only ones. So 18% of you admit, man, I would like to get my finances better. I'd love to get maybe instead of 12 cents out of every dollar that I make going towards marketing, I'd love to make that 11 cents or 10 cents. Those pennies actually count. I could pay my employees. Well balanced, 55%. Great. 27% of you, which I love, you've been profitable for a long time. You're waiting for someone to come around and say, you need some net new customers. My customer lifetime value, no one's checked in a while. It's great. Awesome. You get to take that and actually run with it. When we're doing our customer lifetime value planning for clients, we're lucky. We built this technology. It's really easy. We ingest all your customer data. It's no extra cost for clients who are on our BI reporting. We can see what your customer lifetime value is over the first 12 months, how many net new customers you're gaining. If we take a new group of customers every month, Are your basket sizes and customer lifetime value trends going in the right direction? What's your current customer lifetime value? What's your margin? What should your cost per acquisition actually be? And as we see the trends month over month over month, are we getting anywhere better? But how does this tie back to what Melissa was covering? Well, everything ties back. Everything always ties back when you're choosing your strategy and your goals the right way. If you are trying to decrease your MER, meaning instead of 12 cents of revenue going to marketing, you bring it down to 10, how do you do that? It's not just about pulling back. In fact, you can invest more in certain areas as a pressure point to improve that. Invest in consideration, which is Google Ads video view and demand gen. Invest more in conversion. That's video action. If you're trying to allow yourself a more aggressive CPA, cost per acquisition, invest in those, plus add video reach and Microsoft CTV. And the same thing for net new, outside of the aspects of loyalty and advocacy. Just bring it all home. Now, real quick before we get to these questions, clearly we are holistically minded. We do manage a lot of channels. We have experts like Melissa who allow us to go into the rabbit's hole when it comes to a particular channel, and we know everything about every bell, whistle, and lever of these channels. It doesn't mean we don't also dissolve their existence as separate units and create a fictional one platform where everything exists in e-com and re-envision what we can do strategically, because doing that is as important. And this dual side to us allows us to be both deeply specialized and generously strategic. And our technology brings it all together. We do offer a growth plan where we can study your business, we study your competitors, figure out your brand versus search, your alpha versus standard, what your segments should be, what channels you should be investing in, what channels you're over investing in. You've got competitors, you're doing a better job with search-based and you didn't even realize you were search-based, and here's all the channels they're invested in. Here's how much we got to catch up. All that work we offer at no charge. If we can plan the perfect growth plan for you to hit all your goals, we will do that. And if you sign with us, we'll execute. You'll either work with myself or my colleague Liam on this growth plan. You'll be engaged with my colleagues like Logan and Rebecca, who will dive deep into Google Ads and SEO, etc., based on what your challenges are, where you have a lot of data. And while we just quickly start to look at the questions here, we answered a few questions already. Logan, you answered a few of those yourself. Do you want to quickly go over the ones that you answered kind of in private, and then we'll go to the other questions?
Sure. Yeah, I think it would be beneficial for the group to read these out loud. So Lauren asked, regarding remarketing to high-value site visitors who have yet to convert while staying within ROAS goals, what are high-value site visitors? And my reply was, we like to add dimensions and segments to website visitors because not all site visitors are created equally. Someone could just come to the website and bounce. Someone could just view one page on the site, or someone could take a much more valuable action, like abandoning a shopping cart, viewing multiple pages on your website, or even staying on your website for a certain amount of time. You want to be able to have levers in Google Ads on those different segments of visitors so you can invest in them differently based on their performance. And Lauren also had a good follow-up saying she thought it would be a good idea to even have a different segment based on if someone visited a product page that has a high margin or high impact on profit. And I think that's certainly a strategy that we like to pursue as well. Sometimes you have product categories with really wide variance in terms of their gross margin contribution. So being able to control that investment is important. That was a great question. Thank you, Lauren. Elizabeth asked, would you apply these same concepts to service-based B2C companies instead of product-based companies? And I said, absolutely. I think we find a lot of service-based businesses are what we would call search-based. So there's like a kind of a problem solution. People start their journey on Google search or Microsoft search, and they're, you know, looking for a service. So that consideration bucket is where you want a lot of the ad spend. The sometimes you'll find the issue with service-based companies are that those cost per click for your high value keywords in search are very, very expensive. That's why we like to diversify the investment and go into some of these awareness-based campaigns on display, discovery, YouTube. We can actually hone in on those really valuable in-market audiences or people who have searched for your really expensive trophy keywords over on Google. So we can get at them on these other channels at a much lower cost per engagement, much lower CPC, and we can start to acquire new customers that way as well.
I'll just add that if your service-based B2C is related to something life, limb, or liability based, and there's a lot of trust required, you're probably in a brand-based journey. So like if you're Allstate Insurance, where people have to trust you, yes, it's service-based, but with everything being equal, whoever seems to be most established is going to get a lot of business. Or your Mercedes, I don't want to drive something that I don't know is actually tested by the market. Those situations are brand-based. That would be kind of the flip side of that.
Yep, that's a good point, Nick. And then, yeah, I think those are the ones that I answered. I think there was some in here for Melissa as well, if you want to take a few of these.
Yeah. So Patricia asked, how effective are video reach, view, and action for B2B? How long should the videos be? I will say they are effective for B2B. I directly work with a hardware client who is primarily B2B, and we run video campaigns for them all the time, and they are effective. It's just about knowing your audience and using the right audiences. It's like knowing your customer base and using the right Google audiences if you're doing the video campaigns, but they can be effective. It's just testing, iterating the right creative. And then to the point of how long videos should be, I recommend capping out at 30 seconds, understanding that most people lose attention after 5 seconds. There is a metric called average watch time per impression. So it's like how many average seconds people watch your ad, which is helpful after you've been testing for a while to see, like, on average, people actually watch about 20 seconds. That's a good indicator. You have more time to get the message across. But if it's shorter, reinforces we need to get that message across quickly. But normally recommend about 15, 30 seconds. Can go longer, but people tend to stop watching after that point. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I just point out that the hardware client that you're speaking of does have two massive competitors, Home Depot and Lowe's, and they were down to about $5 million revenue in 2019 when we took over the account. And within 2 years, we got them up to 17 million. And within 3 years, we got them up to 29 million. So knowing what has been established by your competitors, especially competitors who will choose to also be in the consideration place and they have built brand, you have to be able to stand up a little bit to them. So if you are going all in on search based, and you're always shoulder to shoulder, same price with a much better known brand and alpha, you might need to take an alpha approach and start to actually focus on building that brand a little bit.
For sure. And then the next question was, how does conversion tracking work with Microsoft CTV? Sounds like you talked to a rep and they weren't super clear. I will be clear with you. Currently, this is in beta, and part of it being in beta is we do not have conversion tracking that can be attributed back to CTV. Hence why we recommend a minimum of 10K, because we're going to need to be, if we test this for you or any client currently that is testing it, we have to measure lift independently of the ad. So that's watching your brand searches, watching your organic performance, keeping an eye on other metrics that show people are searching for your brand name. I'm hoping one day Microsoft will have attribution that is mapped to CTV, potentially when this comes out of beta. But for now, you will not see conversions attributed back. So we have to look at other performance metrics to value success. And then another question, I think it was the last one. When you talk about product ads, do you mean paid search? If not, what's the difference? This is the confusing terminology. When we talk about paid search, we mean the text ads that appear on the screen when you're on the search engine results page. For us, product ads is the product listing ad. So if you're ever on Google and at the top is images of products and those have like a price and the brand below them, those are the product ads. Below that is typically text ads, which are the paid search, we call them. And then below that is organic. They do overlap. They're all pay-per-click. They're all PPC technically, but there's a lot of mixed terminology in that space for sure.
And a few people asked if they'll get a recording. You'll both get a recording and a PDF copy within 48 hours. Everyone will. I think that brings us to the last question, but thank you, folks. You spent your national emergency time with us today. Greatly appreciate it. Melissa, thank you for starting to master some of these things that are fresh out of the oven. It's important that people adopt quickly. Otherwise, when everyone starts using these tools, they're not as effective. So we got to get in early. Folks, thank you. So many of you asked for some next steps and we'll reach out. Logan, thank you for bringing us home with a lot of the standards and understanding where these pieces connect between strategy and Google Ads. And thank you folks again for spending your time with us.
Thanks,
See you in 2
everyone.
weeks.
Everyone.